Today, I want you to look at children who become suicide bombers through a completely different lens. In 2009, there were 500 bomb blasts across Pakistan. I spent the year working with children who were training to become suicide bombers and with Taliban recruiters, trying to understand how the Taliban were converting these children into live ammunition and why these children were actively signing up to their cause. I want you to watch a short video from my latest documentary film, Children of the Taliban.
The Taliban now run their own schools. They target poor families and convince the parents to send their children. In return, they provide free food and shelter and sometimes pay the families a monthly stipend. We've obtained a propaganda video made by the Taliban. Young boys are taught justifications for suicide attacks and the execution of spies. I make contact with a child from Swat who studied in a madrasa like this. Hazrat Ali is from a poor farming family in Swat. He joined the Taliban a year ago when he was 13.
तालिबान किस तरह आपके इलाके में नौजवानों को दावत देते हैं लड़ने के लिए?
जी दो अवल वर्तलाश जुमात के सराव गाड़ी बे चराव गाड़ी से खबर वर्तो की बे दागे न पस तरबियत लेबूजी अलतब तरबियत के सादिस मादिस वर्तो हुई सादिस मादी.
He tells me the children are then given months of military training.
मशीन शो क्लाशनको जरके शो अबल लाओं तकी और यो रॉकेट लॉन्चर ग्रेनेड बम बस दा देर पर वो चीज़ इस्तेमाल द काफिर होता पर मुंग पर काफिर इस्तेमाल बेद आगे न बाद चे द पिदाई द गाड़ी हमले चल ट्रेनिंग वो खाई.
आप फिदाई हमला करना चाहते हैं?
अल्लाह तौफीक राकुम बेबको.
I, in my research, have seen that the Taliban have perfected the way in which they recruit and train children. And I think it's a 5-step process. Step 1 is that the Taliban prey on families that are large, that are poor, that live in rural areas. They separate the parents from the children by promising to provide food, clothing, shelter to these children. Then they ship them off hundreds of miles away to hardline schools that run along the Taliban agenda. Step 2, they teach the children the Quran, which is Islam's holiest book, in Arabic, a language these children do not understand and cannot speak. They rely very heavily on teachers who I have personally seen distort the message to these children as and when it suits their purpose too. These children are explicitly forbidden from reading newspapers, listening to radio, reading any books that the teachers do not prescribe them. If any child is found violating these rules, he is severely reprimanded. Effectively, the Taliban create a complete blackout of any other source of information for these children. Step 3, the Taliban want these children to hate the world that they currently live in. So they beat these children. I have seen it. They feed them twice a day dry bread and water. They rarely allow them to play games. They tell them that for 8 hours at a time, all they have to do is read the Quran. The children are virtual prisoners. They cannot leave. They cannot go home. Their parents are so poor, they have no resources to get them back. Step 4, the older members of the Taliban, the fighters, start talking to the younger boys about the glories of martyrdom. They talk to them about how, when they die, they will be received up with lakes of honey and milk, how there will be 72 virgins waiting for them in paradise, how there will be unlimited food, and how this glory is going to propel them to become heroes in their neighborhoods. Effectively, this is the brainwashing process that has begun. Step 5, I believe the Taliban have one of the most effective means of propaganda. Their videos that they use are intercut with photographs of men and women and children dying in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and in Pakistan. And the basic message is that the Western powers do not care about civilian deaths. So those people who live in areas and support governments that work with Western powers are fair game. That's why Pakistani civilians, over 6,000 of whom have been killed in the last 2 years alone, are fair game. Now these children are primed to become suicide bombers. They're ready to go out and fight because they've been told that this is effectively their only way to glorify Islam. I want you to watch another excerpt from the film.
This boy is called Zainullah. He blew himself up, killing 6. This boy is called Sadiq. He killed 22. This boy is called Masood. He killed 28. The Taliban are running suicide schools, preparing a generation of boys for atrocities against civilians.
आप समझते हैं कि आप कभी फ़िदाई हमला करना चाहेंगे?
बहुत शौक़ है, लेकिन अगर घर से इजाज़त मिल गई वालिदैन का तो इंशाल्लाह कर लेंगे। ये फ़िदाई वग़ैरह को देख के जो मेरे से छोटे उम्र में या मेरे आम उम्र है, उनको देख के वो जो फ़िदाई हमले करते हैं सख्त तरीन के, उन्हीं से जज्बात आ जाते हैं।
फ़िदाई हमले से आपको क्या अजर मिलेगा?
फ़िदाई हमले से तो यह अजर मिलेगा कि क़यामत के दिन अल्लाह ताला पूछेगा कि तूने क्यों ऐसा किया है। खून वग़ैरह नज़र आता होगा या आग वग़ैरह नज़र आता होगा, तो मैं वहाँ यही जवाब दूंगा कि ए अल्लाह तेरी रज़ा के लिए यही जान दी है और कुफ़ार मुशरिकीन से लड़े यही जान दिया। तो वहाँ पर फिर मेरे इरादे को देखा जाएगा। अगर मेरा इरादा यही हो कि मैं इन बेगैरत ज़लीलों को ख़त्म करने के लिए या इस्लाम की नाम बुलंद करने के लिए किया हो, तो फिर अल्लाह ताला मुझे जन्नत ही में जगह दे देगा।
I leave you all with this thought. If you grew up in these circumstances, faced with these choices, would you choose to live in this world or in the glorious afterlife? As one Taliban recruiter told me, there will always be sacrificial lambs in this war. Thank you.